Aloha, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the podcast. This is David Icke, the legend himself. This is a very censored podcast. I want to let all of you know I had to edit this dramatically as it got pulled from YouTube. I already went through the censorship. I don't want to get another strike on my channel and lose everything. All right. So that's where I'm at. And I just had to get this up. I'm really excited to get this up. And at the same time, I want to let you know that this is extremely edited and is also very censored for the public YouTube and podcast. All right. So if you want the unedited version, you have to get over to Patreon. This is not about money. This is not about getting anything from you or selling anything to you. What this is about is getting around the censorship. Okay. On Patreon, this is a private way to get access to my videos and access to these types of interviews that will never hit social media. All right. So David Icke and I cover so many awesome topics. Of course, reptilians, of course, getting into what's happening right now with COVID, getting into the truth and exactly the details about consciousness and the fifth dimension, what's going on with the matrix and the simulation, how to really exit all of that and get in tune with the infinite consciousness. All right. You guys are going to love this one. Without any further ado, let's just get right into it. Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm good, bit rushed off my feet, but I remember the days when being rushed off your feet was trying to get people to listen. Now it's dealing with people who want to listen. So it's a different challenge and a much nicer one, I can tell you. But yeah, it's good.
Good. Yeah, happy to hear that. Yeah, I would agree. Very much agree with that. Yeah, thank you again for taking the time. I figured we can just jump right into it and hopefully get like 30 minutes of some sort of censored format, and I can just hopefully get this up, to the internet and to YouTube and everything. And then maybe the last 30 minutes we can open up a little bit more, and I'll post that separately, privately on my Patreon. That way we can cover it all. And I'm sure you have a strategy for yourself, and you're experiencing all of this censorship, and we can get into that right away.
I basically just whack it out there, and what happens. But yeah. We had an email actually I saw today, which someone was trying to make comments about me, nice comments about me actually, in response to like YouTube comments.
Yeah.
He said every time I posted anything nice about you, it was taken down. So yeah, she should have hurled abuse at me. It would have stayed there then.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, these people are little boys and girls in short trousers and school uniforms, aren't they? But there you go.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly how I view it too. It's just a game that, we have to play in order to get this information out there. And at the same time, yeah, it's something that I wish people would just grow up a little bit, but that's okay. That's what we're here for, to do this so we can, get to the people that really want to hear this information, right? And get it out there as much as we possibly can.
It seems to me that, stunted development psychologically is a prerequisite to being in these positions, really. I mean, I said in a video the other day, you don't see impressive people in these positions of power because impressive people wouldn't do as they're told. Impressive people, they want compliant people who just do whatever they're told. And so you have your Zuckerbergs and your Brins and Pages and your Wojcicki's and all these people. They're just compliant gophers. The idea that people like Zuckerberg, for instance, is running Facebook is a joke. I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And we can start right there. That was one of the questions I had with, Facebook and this metaverse and things that are changing in this digital age. What I talk about and what I, view all of this as is like, this material universe and the matrix or whatever you want to call it, right? And this digital thing that is obviously taking over now. And then these recent events have obviously shifted us, into that even more so. And then you have this other thing, right? That people that have awakened, beyond this level of control, that are seeing beyond what's going on the surface, right? Can see through this. And there's this other thing that I'd like to call new earth, right? This different thing that people are attracting to, So first of all, yeah, what do you think about the metaverse and all of that? And do you think people are going to get sucked into that? Or you think there's hope for humanity whatsoever?
Well, it's like everything, it's a choice. But I'm just writing a book at the moment. Actually, I've nearly finished it, which is looking at these some of these deeper levels of reality. And I've been saying since just after the turn of the millennium that we live in a simulation of some form. I think I know a lot more about it now, and certainly having researched it for this book. And, the way I see it is that you've got two fields. You've got the infinite field and you've got the simulation field. And the simulation field seeks to mimic the infinite field. And the idea is that we are manipulated to connect into this simulation field so that it basically feeds our reality. It just feeds us our reality. If the point that we interact with it is the five senses. So if you're only in five sense reality, you're only in five sense self-identity, perception, then basically this simulation field is feeding you your sense of reality. That's why, before I knew any of this, for decades, I've been pointing out that the bottom line of what I call this global cult that's behind the direction of the world currently, the bottom line is to disconnect what I call body-mind, five sense reality, basically, from expanded levels of consciousness. And expanded levels of consciousness are connected to the infinite field. So they've got someone very different on the line, right?
Oh yeah.
So what people call awakening, in my view, people come to their own conclusions, is awakening from the five sense prison cell, which is connecting you to the simulation construct, matrix, whatever you want. And it's feeding you a reality that holds you in perceptual servitude. That's what it all is. It all comes down to perception in the end, psychology. And when you awaken, you start to connect with the infinite field. And at that point, you start to see the world very different. You start to see yourself very different. You start to be able to connect dots, which the five senses can't connect, because the whole way that the five senses decode reality is to see dots. They decode a very narrow band of perception, I say the simulation. And that band of perception is basically what we call form, what we call objects. Overwhelmingly, it's just objects. And so the five senses are feeding us a reality in which you have objects, people, buildings, whatever, and between them is empty space. So the very foundation of the way the five senses, and I don't think this is an accident at all, decode reality is that everything's apart from everything else. Everything's separated from everything else. And once you start to realize, as you expand your awareness, and anyone could do it, it's just a choice, really, then you realize that actually there's no empty space. There's no empty space between objects. There's a sea of energy, consciousness, possibility, probability, and all these things that are waiting to manifest if we choose to connect with them and bring them into manifestation. But the five senses see only everything apart from everything else. And this works on so many levels. Because if you look at the world only through the five senses, you'll never get what's going on. Because everything looks random, everything looks separated. Facebook looks separated from the World Health Organization and so on. And they aren't. Level, whether it's the world that we experience in the world of the seen, or whether it's infinite reality, everything is connected. Five senses are always telling us they're not. And that's why they want us imprisoned in the five senses and all the labels of the five senses, the labels of a human life, because then they got you. And that's why the awakening is the worst nightmare of that which wishes to suppress us.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Yes. And for me, going through that myself, all those aha moments, all those, things that I researched many, many years ago started really making a lot of sense once you perceive beyond that veil, like I said, of illusion that's happening. And it's amazing to me, walking around every day, seeing just how thick that layer is, that layer of illusion that I'm talking about. It is way thicker than I can even comprehend, honestly. And I'm seeing it, and it only allows me to have more compassion for these people that are, locked into their senses like that, and they genuinely don't know anything beyond it, because they are seriously, entrapped in it. And I can see that on them just by viewing it. And like I said, naturally just having compassion and empathy for these people more and more. And at the other end of this, we have this awakening where people are piercing that veil, going through it, whatever it is, on the surface that gets them attracted to it. But finally they pierce through that veil, and here we are on the other side, connecting as, infinite souls, as infinite beings, right? Connected to that real thing that is beyond the artificial thing. So
Yeah.
it's inevitable in my mind.
Yeah, I think the kind of, if you like, the physics of it is
Mm-hmm.
that obviously every time we think or feel emotion,
Yeah.
we're generating frequencies, and
Mm-hmm.
the nature of those frequencies are dictating the frequency expression in our energetic field.
Yeah.
And so if you can be manipulated through the five senses and the sense of apartness, the sense of separation alone, never mind all the other
Mm-hmm.
stuff, that you are little me, you have no power, everything's limited, and it's all a world of I can't and bewilderment and all the rest of it, then that perceptual state is a very low vibrational state.
Yeah.
And then you've got very high vibrational states, expanded levels of our consciousness, and the two cease to communicate with each other because their frequency compatibility connection gets wider and wider. That's what the separation is for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you open your heart, and for me, the big thing is to redefine your self-identity.
Yes.
From self-identifying with the labels of a human life,
Yes.
which is about limitation. What are the labels of a human life? I'm a man, I'm a woman, I am this race, that race, I am
Mm-hmm.
this sexuality, I am this income bracket, I am this nation, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're all the labels of the five senses. This is the world of the five senses those labels are about. So if you self-identify with those, not that you don't enjoy the experience if it's a nice experience, and I'm all for all this, if you like, diversity of perception, diversity of way of doing things. I'm all for that because, I mean, we're all possibility. We should be celebrating.
Yeah, that's what we're here to do. Yeah.
Realm of all possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is if you completely self-identify the I,
Yeah.
the ultimate I, with those labels, you get pulled into five sense perception. Whereas when you self-identify with being the consciousness having the experience,
Yeah.
the consciousness that ultimately is infinite having the experience,
Mm-hmm.
then your frequency by definition expands, because you've gone from a limited sense of identity, which means a limited frequency, to an expanded sense of self-identity, which means an expanded frequency. And suddenly, because of that awakening out of the five senses to connect with other levels of yourself, that frequency separation, disconnection is healed. Because that then starts from the five senses out into expanded awareness, becomes a single flow of consciousness rather than a separated consciousness. Five senses from expanded awareness. And of course, what happens then is you obviously start to see the world and everything are completely different. And, there's a theme very clearly going on, is accentuate everything.
Yeah.
All the things that were going on before, all the psychological traits and ways of looking at the world that were going on before, have suddenly become so concentrated that it's in your face. It's suddenly become something you don't have to look for. It's there.
Yeah.
And so, I've watched people who've walked, and there's like a black cloud above their head.
Exactly.
And then I've been on the marches and the rallies in London, loads of them now over the last 2 years. And the energy is unbelievable. This is not an energy of protest. It's not. It's not an energy of protesting against a war or protesting against this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
This is different. It's and people can feel it's different. So when I was talking to some people, I was being questioned by people from different parts of the world last week actually, and on Zoom, and two of the people were from Canada, and they'd been to Ottawa in that truckers protest,
Yeah.
and they both made the point that the energy was different. The energy was something else. It was about joy, unity, and high vibration. And
Exactly.
I thought, well, I know exactly what that feels like, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the vibe in the London marches and rallies. So
Mm-hmm.
and other people have said it in their kind of sphere around the world in different places, that it's a different energy. It is.
I
And
agree.
it's the energy of awakening, not awakening to what's happened in the last 2 years alone, but that's been a trigger. It's awakening to something greater. And it bodes very well. We've got lots of challenges coming, but
I
it
agree.
bodes very well, because this is the energy we need, not the
Yep.
energy of confrontation, the energy of self-respect for a start, of being your own sovereign self, and not
Exactly.
allowing yourself to be told what to do by someone else just because they've got a title or a uniform.
Yeah. Period.
And this is for me where it starts.
Yeah.
To once you self-identify with being a point of attention, if you like, within infinite awareness, why should some other point of attention be telling me what to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What makes you more important than me? What makes me
Mm-hmm.
more important than you?
Yeah.
Now, if you can persuade me with the power of your argument and your evidence that what you are asking me to do, not telling me, by the way,
Yeah.
then I will do it
Mm-hmm.
on the basis of you have persuaded me it's the right thing to do. But I ain't doing it just because you, in some position, tell me to do it. I mean,
Exactly. Yep.
who the heck is Justin Trudeau to
Mm-hmm.
tell Canada how to live its life? Who
Yeah.
is he? Where's the authority? Oh, he's prime minister. Don't give me that. Who? Forget all that.
Mm-hmm.
Who is he as an expression of consciousness to tell other expressions of consciousness called Canadians how to live their lives?
Yeah.
How does that work? See, what this whole simulation reality has done with its hierarchies is persuaded people that position and title and uniform somehow should give people more power,
Mm-hmm.
expressions of consciousness, more power than other expressions of consciousness that don't have that title and don't have that uniform. That's nonsense. That's the creation of mind, body, mind, that the five senses. It's not the creation of expanded awareness that sees everything as one. And so
Exactly.
if we start with that, I think that sovereign self, first question, who are you to tell me what to do? You can persuade me what to do. Who are you to tell me what to do?
Yeah.
That's I think the start. Because although we're all expressions of the same infinite awareness, we're all unique expressions of it.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we should be celebrating our uniqueness as well as acknowledging that in the end we're all one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a basic civil rights issue, right? It's basically transcended everybody as far as where they stand or what they are. And it's all just a programming issue. And like I said earlier, that veil is so thick, that programming is so thick, way thicker than I could ever imagine now. And here we are experiencing it. And, I want you to dig deeper for me. We can paint a picture here. So we have this infinite consciousness, right? We have this oneness, this awareness that we're talking about. And where did this start? Like, as far as the cult, the NWO, like, what was that control? Where did that simulation kick in? You see what I mean? Because this isn't a new thing, right? Like we already mentioned, this COVID stuff is something that only accelerated, a fire that was already burning, right? So where did that fire start in this, larger construct of what we would call time? And how did we get to where we are now?
Well, I think time is a construct of the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
I said just after the millennium that we live in a simulation, and the walls of the simulation at our level in this
Mm-hmm.
reality are
Yeah.
the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an article in Scientific American in April of last year, which from by an academic who said that he felt that we live in a simulation, and the limits of the simulation, I would say at our level, because I think there's multi levels of it,
Yeah.
is the speed of light. And
Mm-hmm.
he rightly connected the speed of light in relation to the simulation to the processing speed
Got
of
it.
a simulation, where he's, as he rightly said, and I've been saying this for years myself, the laws of physics within the simulation are only the laws that have been encoded in the simulation. So
Exactly.
when people leave the body and experience other levels of reality, there's a completely different law of physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are creating a virtual reality game or something,
Yeah.
then you as the creator decide what the rules are.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore your rules that you encode in the game are the laws of physics of the game. And it's interesting, and I think very relevant, that the physics of computer games basically is the same physics as our reality. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
what's happening now is that, and we'll come to the metaverse, this is where this comes in.
Yeah.
Um, what we're looking at now is technology in our reality increasingly mimicking the simulation.
Mm-hmm. It's another
Nothing.
layer adding into it
Oh,
as we are. Mm-hmm.
exactly that, exactly
Mm-hmm.
that. And so as people awaken from the perceptual prison cell, what they're doing is trying to add more and more layers of the
Mm-hmm.
technological illusion.
Yeah.
So they want to pull you another step in
Yeah.
to the metaverse, and you've got augmented reality and virtual reality, and these are virtual realities within virtual realities,
Mm-hmm.
or to add more and more to the bewilderment and the maze, the perceptual maze that this is really all about. But when you expand your awareness out beyond it, suddenly you can see it. You know, they are trying to pull us in because they know that if they don't, then you'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is about enticing and focusing the five senses, people in the five senses, and to get people to self-identify with five sense reality as the eye. And you'll see also, as part of this is the deeper psychological reason for it,
Mm-hmm.
is that with this so-called woke mentality, which has been funded into existence through the schools, universities, and
Yeah.
corporations by the,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure George Soros is absolutely desperately worried about social justice.
Mm-hmm.
Not that woke is about social justice, it's about destroying it.
Yeah.
But if you look, what they've done is increasingly subdivided the original labels.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got this long list of letters, seems to be getting longer all the time, which is defining in fine detail people's sense of identity on the basis of really kind of crazy things like sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not who we are, that's what we're experiencing. And so the sense of self-identity is being squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. Is a point where artificial intelligence is connected to the human brain and becomes the human mind. And at that point you are sucked in,
Mm-hmm.
assimilated into
Yeah.
AI and what they call cyberspace. And the metaverse is another here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Exactly. I feel like we're right on the edge. Like we're right in this in between state where there's an option now, but very soon around the corner. It's mandatory in the sense of, generational gaps. My generation, for example, being the one that experienced the internet itself, right? Being born into it. And I see the differences. And I still remember as a kid, not having a cell phone and not having, technology. And it was wonderful, right? But nowadays, Generation Z and going forward, right? Technology is just their life. And moving forward, the metaverse will be, the next generations, that'll be their norm, right? So I feel like we're right here on the cusp of this, choice rather, right? Because we still have free will in my mind, just for a little bit here before it's fully uploaded, as you're saying, right? The technology and the mechanism to upload consciousness itself to this grid, to this, 5 sense singularity is very not only possible and been talking about, but happening right now. It just hasn't trickled down to the consumer level where every single one of us are simply plugged in, right? So I myself have, taken all the efforts to, unplug from that world and plug into the real natural world. And recently, being a father and having kids, I want to teach my children, right, how to, have a natural, simple life. That very simple concept of just nature, right? I feel like is being forgotten, and replaced with this, singularity or metaverse or whatever the next shiny, fancy thing is that we're going to get hooked on.
Yeah, and I just like to make one point here in regard to this, and that's I'm seeing in the alternative media and in some connected areas, Elon Musk becoming something of a hero.
Yeah.
And it really is important that people suss this guy and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that are obviously pushing for this agenda.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that play the role, that's what it is, of pushing against some of it. So Elon Musk will come out and support the truckers. He'll
Yeah.
but it's very simple. Don't judge people by their words, but by their actions. That's what the real voice of a person is, what they do. And you've got Elon Musk, who said some years ago that AI could be the end of humanity. Well, true, in terms of the way we perceive humanity. But then starts a company called Neuralink to connect human brains to computers. He oversees, because none of these people are actually running their companies. The cult runs the companies, but he oversees, he fronts up for SpaceX, which is putting up ultimately thousands of low orbit satellites, beaming Wi-Fi and 5G at the Earth to create this, what Ray Kurzweil at Google calls the cloud, to which the human brain is going to be connected via AI. And then he's got this Tesla operation, which is electric cars, actually driverless cars. And the whole electric car movement towards them, it's all planned. That's why these major car companies are all coming out with electric cars now, being pushed by human-caused climate change and all that stuff, which they claim. If you're going to have a driverless car, it has to be electric. It's run by a computer. It has to be electric. You can't really have driverless cars with petrol engines and diesel engines. So they're replacing diesel and petrol with electric cars, not to benefit the environment, not at all. I mean, if you go through the whole cycle from the cobalt in Africa through to the end, I mean, it's not an environmental exercise at all. It's a nonsense. So, but what it's about, of course, Musk will know this. It's about creating the environment where driverless cars can become the norm, and then the computer in the car decides where you can and cannot go, instead of you in a petrol engine just pointing the car. I mean, we in Britain have this crazy situation, but to understand what's going on, people just need to realize that those that are running their country, I don't care where it is around the world, there will be odd exceptions, not many, they're not doing it for the benefit of you in that country. They're following a global script. And therefore, there are things being done that are bad for you, really bad for you. I mean, we've seen that in the last 2 years. But they're doing it because it's the cult agenda, not because it benefits you. If it doesn't benefit you, well, that's fair enough. It's the cult agenda. It's happening. So in Britain, we got these motorways, freeways, and what they've always had is overwhelmingly three running lanes, and then a lane on the left-hand side, which they call the hard shoulder, the emergency lane. So that means that if you are in fast-moving traffic and your vehicle breaks down, then you get across into the hard shoulder, the emergency lane. And there you're out of the fast-moving traffic coming behind you. Also, ambulances and fire engines, they go down the emergency lane to get to an accident. Exactly. So all the traffic is built up because of the accident, but they go down the emergency lane and they get there very quickly. What they're doing in Britain now is they're taking out the emergency lane and turning it into a running lane. And they're doing this all over the country. And there's been so many people have died where their car has or vehicle has broken down in what was the hard shoulder. They would have got across to it, but it's now a running lane. And a truck or something has come behind them and wiped them out. But they're still doing it. And people say, well, that's crazy. Why are they doing that? They're doing it because they're preparing for the driverless car era.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing it for. Yeah. And if there are people who are going to die, and they know they will in this situation I've described, then so be it, they say, because our agenda must happen. Yeah. So it's a big penny drop. I mean, when you realize, for instance, well, it's not hard to grasp now that Trudeau is not, he was in my books in the 1980s, but in the 1990s, Pierre Trudeau. And Biden's not running America for America. Exactly. And so it goes on. Macron in France is not running France for French people. He's Mario Draghi, the unelected prime minister of Italy, who's turned Italy fascist. And what's happening now to these things that seem to be random are easy to connect. And smart motorways, as they're calling them, which is another inversion because they're stupid motorways, taking the emergency lane out, is on the face of it crazy, but there's method in the madness.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's all, as we've already said, look at these keywords, look at all these things, and it's all levels of programming, right? In full swing. But on the surface, right, there's these words that are compassionate, like, Neuralink, for example, with Elon Musk, right, talking about how it's going to help save people with neurological disorders or blindness or things like that, which all sounds wonderful for humanity, and everybody gets these warm, gushy feelings in their heart. But nobody wants to dig deeper than that as far as what this can actually do and how no one understands how you can't go back, right, from these decisions once they have been, implemented into our society, right? So person walking down the street, with the Neuralink in their head right now, like I said, we're in this very simple era where you have a choice, right? Where people are walking around, with, earphones, earbuds or whatever, and they have their cell phone. And you can see somebody that's, extremely plugged in and into the matrix, and they're locked in, and that's it. But very soon there will be no difference. There'll be that surgery, that implant will be like connected, psychologically and physically into them. So you won't be able to see the difference as far as who's connected into it and who's not. It'll be this Pokemon, Go metaverse world that we're all connected to, and on the double-bladed sword, like these people that we're talking about, that are controlling this, they're not stupid people, and they've inserted, figures, celebrities, whoever, to increase this, right, and to give it a public name, whether it's for promoting green earth, or for me thinking about compassion for animals and lab tested food to replace meats or certain things, right? All these things are really changing and connecting every aspect of life, from the air, the water, the food, right? Literally everything is being controlled to persuade us into that. And meanwhile, here we are, like I said, what's left? What's going to be left of it? Is it really this, dark cold place that we're going to be living in while the metaverse just takes over, or is there any real chance for something to thrive beyond it?
Well, that depends on whether people awaken to awareness, consciousness beyond that, which is in terms of selling these things. I mean, if someone knocks on your door to sell you a vacuum cleaner, they're not going to try to sell you it by telling you it's terrible, are they?
No.
They're going to tell you all the good things about it. They're not going to tell you the bad things about it. They're not going to tell you that actually it has a record of breaking into flames or anything. They're going to tell you, oh, it sucks up the dust, so brilliant, all that stuff. And that's what they're doing with this technological kind of revolution, is that they're telling you things like you mentioned with Musk, oh, it's helping disabled people. Now, everything is about motivation, and so if the motivation of this technology was purely to help people it can help, then that's okay. But it's not. That is the foot in the door.
Yeah.
That's the thin end of the wedge for the real reason. You have people like Ray Kurzweil at Google openly saying that we're going to connect the human brain to AI, and that once that connection happens, AI will do more and more of human thinking until human thinking as we know it is negligible, if existent at all. I mean, they're his words, not mine.
Exactly.
But that will make us gods. That will make us superhuman. Everybody
keyword.
you're looking at now, you're seeing the sales pitch for this dystopian world.
Yeah, it's happening. And keyword, you said it right there, God, right? We just keep trying to play God, keep trying to reenact it. I like how you pointed out in the beginning there with singularity and this infinite consciousness, because they are connected. You can't have one without the other. And it's a part and parcel. It's always trying to mimic it, but it'll never be as magnificent as, the creation itself, the infinite itself. It will never be. Man will never create anything. And then here we are, right, in this programming at the base of all of this COVID, Omicron stuff, at this base health level, right? If you truly believe that any chemical or anything artificial is going to create that, right, then here we are at this base. Humans, I've seen them within my own family structure.
And certainly it's described by the Native Americans, the Cree tribal people in Canada and across the border into America, have the concept of what they call Wetiko. And I came across Wetiko maybe 18 months ago. But when I read how they described Wetiko and what it was, I thought, this is just the mind virus I've been talking about. They call it Wetiko. It was the same. And there's an amazing common theme. And when Christianity talks about the devil and Satan and demons, and the Gnostics talk about Yaldabaoth and the archons or rulers, and so on and so forth, you're seeing different names and symbolic expressions of a state of consciousness in the end. It doesn't matter if you're human
100%.
or if you're some reptilian being or whatever. It doesn't matter. How you behave, what you do, is decided by your state of consciousness.
Yes.
And so if you go back to that level, you can find where this is playing out from, and it seems ever so complex when it plays out. All different people, different races, and what have you, all acting in different ways. But if you get it down to basically to consciousness, then it becomes very simple what's going on, really. That people are starting to see these deeper levels of what's actually going on.
Yes.
And there's an inverted, chaotic, distorted state of consciousness. And inverted in this sense, for me, what we call evil is the absence of love. And evil is an inversion of love. This inverted consciousness, which goes under many and various names in religions and ancient cultures, by its inversion, by its nature, is in a very low frequency state. And so to attach, to assimilate human consciousness, or consciousness having an experience called human, it has to bring that awareness, here we're going back to the 5 sense prison, into its frequency layer, because then it can attach to it and assimilate it, Yeah. And the other thing is that when you've got this frequency attachment, then I'll call it Wetiko, the
Yeah.
Wetiko consciousness can start to feed its perception into those that are attached to it.
Oh, big
And,
time.
and
Big time,
so
man.
what happens then?
Like the everyday consumer just being more attracted to these ideas for a reason, talking about, aliens, or talking about, reptilians, or what's going on behind the scenes, or celestial beings, or galactic federation, or Palladians, or Syrians. Like people, that I used to be called crazy or whatever, for talking about this stuff. I feel like people understand chemtrails, understand these ideas that used to be so far-fetched, but now
Yeah,
have actually become tangible in people's lives.
that's all. That's all true, and that's all good on one level. But for me, what attaches us to the the simulation, the matrix, the perceptual prison cell, is self-identity with being human.
Yeah,
Instead of primarily, instead of being consciousness.
I hear
And
you.
for me, the whole Garden of Eden story is symbolic, and you can find the same story told in different ways all over the
Sure.
world.
Yeah.
Um, it's symbolic of humanity, that what we call humanity, consciousness that we now call humanity,
Yeah.
was operating, those that have been trapped in this simulation anyway,
Mhm.
they've been operating, though they were operating in a much higher frequency reality, which was much more ethereal, so much more was possible. And that's symbolic of paradise.
Yeah.
And that consciousness, or some of it, fell out of paradise. And fell into human form, which I think is symbolized by Adam and Eve. And of course, you
Yes.
have the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And
Mhm.
this fall, that is this common theme, for me, was a fall down the frequencies
I agree.
into this density. Now, this, as I understand it, and I've looked at this a lot in the last 20 years, this simulation is a simulation of something that actually exists. It's just a digital version of it.
Yes, I see
Um,
that.
and so because if you read the writings of the Gnostics that were found in a earthen jar in Nag Hammadi in Egypt in 1945, it's treasure trove of writings which were supposed to have, well, it's estimated they were put in that jar around 400 AD, but go back further. They describe this force they call archons, Greek for rulers, and how they created what they called a bad copy of prime reality. I mean, that given how old these writings are, that's quite extraordinary. A bad copy of prime reality, but it was a copy. So if you have a website and you take a copy of it, when you take the copy of it, it's a copy of the website as it is at that moment. Now, that website you've taken a copy of goes on existing as it always has. But now you've got a copy, now you can start to change the copy. So it's increasingly not like the original. And over this period, we've seen, and it's on steroids now, how this reality has been changed and changed and changed to become a prison cell rather than a paradise. And so when you have Adam and Eve falling out of the garden, that for me is symbolic of when humanity became trapped in this simulation, which at one point was uh, able to simulate prime reality.
Yeah.
Increasingly now, it's an insult to prime reality. And if you experience prime reality, the Earth in prime reality,
Mhm.
then you be in a reality that's teeming with life. But look at the simulation copy. I mean, look out at all those lights at night, which are supposed to be light years and billions of light years away. Actually, space and distance, like time, are illusions. But why isn't this teeming with life? Why isn't this reality teeming with life? But if you, I mean, we come back to this. What we were talking about earlier, the idea is to isolate consciousness in five sense reality and disconnect it from expanded states of consciousness. Isolation. So you look at the way the simulation portrays the quote universe, that part that we can see, and it's all about isolation. This is where you get the extraordinary contradiction from that life as we know it only appears, or we're told it only appears, to exist on this one tiny planet within this vast bloody universe. This is all part of the simulation, creating a sense of isolation. If this universe was teeming, well, the simulation was teeming with life, we had kind of extraterrestrials landing and leaving and you know,
exactly.
Drink down the pub, then of course people's minds, perceptions, etc.
That's how it always was. We were using these technological advanced things that like makes an iPhone or makes whatever we're doing now here on this chat seem like primitive, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, paint us a picture here of what this lid looks like when it really blows off here, because I feel it coming. I know you do. And it's only really just a matter of people willing to accept it, right? And I don't want to use the word time because we know that's an illusion. It's just a matter of consciousness wrapping its mind around the fact that this is only us taking our power back so it can truly manifest here on this planet.
Yeah, well, we are creating the world. We're creating the world with our perception. So what is perception? Perception is what dictates behavior. We behave as we do because we perceive as we do. And collective behavior is called human society. So human society is as it is now because of the perceptual level of the population.
Yes.
And perception comes from information that we receive and form into perception. People awaken and their perceptions change, both of self and reality, then human society must change. You know, we can go from the five, again, a lot of people do this. You can go from the five sense level that says, what are the solutions? And we need to start an organization. Someone needs to take the minutes, and then we have to have someone who's chairman and or chairwoman or whatever. And you can start from the five sense level, and that's going to change nothing because the consciousness has not changed.
The energy behind it. Yes.
All that's happened is you've realized a bit more about the way the five sense world is manipulated, but there's not been a shift to consciousness. If you come from the other way, you have the consciousness shift, which leads to the perceptual shift, which leads to the behavior shift. And things like organizations and structures and all these things, not that there will be anything like as many, they flow from the consciousness shift. They don't come first. You don't start with them. That they play out. Because we do things,
I see it,
in relation to the perceptions that we have. Therefore, when the perceptions change, we change the way things have done. And collectively, that means we change the world.
Yeah, I agree completely. This consciousness is expanding, this energy is growing, and I agree wholeheartedly again, as far as you can't target it from...
If you're sensitive in any way to energy, you can feel there's a shift going on.
Big time.
You know, it's like, you know, for so long, if you're sensitive to energy, it's been like walking through bloody treacle.
Oh, right? Big time. The fear has been, you know, parallel. It's been more than I've ever felt, and I know a lot of people are feeling it too. unless you do have that spiritual antenna, right? People are so subject to what's in the material universe, right? That I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if some, beaming, figure or whatever were to show up tomorrow and to disguise everybody into having this spiritual experience, but obviously it would be fake. You see what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And part of being truly spiritual is to be bloody streetwise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And as you expand your awareness into greater and greater swathes of consciousness beyond the frequency of manipulation, then you become more and more streetwise, because you become more and more aware of the greater reality, and you're able to look at this world from that level and see what you can't see when you're in the world and of it, as opposed to being in the world but not totally of it. And this is very, very important, that people need to question and be aware of anything, and keep asking the question, who benefits from me believing what I'm being told to believe here? Doesn't matter who's saying it, whether it's an alternative person or whether it's a government person. Who benefits from what I'm being asked to believe here? It's very, very important. And it's interesting you mentioned light there. I think there's a big problem with light.
Mm-hmm.
People look at light, and they look at the sun and what have you, and they say, of the light. I think that's a fake light. I think the electromagnetic spectrum, well, I am absolutely...
I hear you. I understand you completely. Yes.
Electromagnetic spectrum is simulation at our level.
Yes. And now, so I've used that word to just describe it, and I would love it, a better word. And I'm just curious, because I'm just saying, I'm only using that word to, for the podcast, in the sense of to connect with people, right? But I agree with you, because I've experienced that divine light, that infinite light that we've talked about many times. It's just, I agree with you that it's different, very different. I call it it's the same, how do I say it? It's the same light itself, but it's not the same quantity. That's what it is. So it's the same thing, but the quality of it is not the same, right? So you're gonna feel it at the depth of your being.
This piercing light is the simulation. Let there be light. Let there be the simulation. But in the Gnostic writings found at Nag Hammadi, they describe prime reality light in terms of watery light.
I like that.
They describe it as the light that casts no shadows.
Yes. It is. I mean, the way I would describe it is, it's something that is beyond, not only beyond the sun, but it's like 10,000 times brighter than the sun. And your eyeballs cannot even, take it in, like your two physical eyeballs are not able to even internalize that, and I've been to that place many times. And it's something, like I said, that I feel like that's our own, abundant nature, where we're all supposed to live and supposed to harness. And our ability as humans is supposed to take that source energy, or infinite source awareness, whatever you want to call it, and channel that here to hopefully bring some, watery light here to this place, so people can, enjoy it, instead of all this fake light that people are used to.
This is the whole point about it, is the watery light is sharing the same space as the electromagnetic light. It's just what frequency are you in?
Back to perception.
Are you in the frequency that connects with the simulation light, or are you at the frequency that connects with the light that casts no shadows, the infinite light? So if you go back to what I was talking about in terms of the simulation being a bad copy, being a mimic, a digital, if you like, at one level, it's waveform on another one, mimic of prime reality, the mimicking of prime light is electromagnetic light. And they've caught us in a belief that light is the light. It's not. I'll tell you this. When I leave the body eventually, it won't be soon, I've got too much to do. But when I leave the body eventually, I'm not going up any bloody tunnel of light, I'll tell you that.
moving forward, how do people, just to give people with some empathy and some compassion here towards the end, how can we give people, a secure way to, like I said, channel that energy, or to get beyond this control, beyond their own internal mechanism as far as increasing consciousness? Like, do they start with their diet? Should they just be increasing their, education beyond obviously the college, system itself, right? Where do people go as far as looking into this to move in a direction that's somewhat positive?
Well, what I would say is change your self-identity.
Beautiful.
See your human life and your human labels as experiences that your consciousness is having, but you are the consciousness having the experience, and you are connected, or can be connected. We're always connected. It's whether we are perceptually connected to infinite reality. We're all expressions of, and ultimately we are that infinite whole. So once you self-identify with that, your awareness must expand into greater and greater swathes of consciousness, because your self-identity expands, your sense of self expands, so you must expand. Just as you go the other way, when you self-identify with more and more myopia of labels and subdivided labels, you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the illusion, and into the what I call phantom self-identity.
Yes.
And once you start doing that, then things start to change anyway. First of all, you become more aware, you become more sensitive, you become more intuitive, but also you are interacting as you expand your awareness, that part of the awareness, in the sense that it's influencing your perceptions. You are expanding into greater and greater swathes of this field of possibility and probability. So therefore, what you are going to manifest into a life experience is going to be vastly greater than it was before. Because when you self-identify with limitation, then that expresses itself in your perceptual field.
Yes.
And because your perception of self and the world is limited, your perceptual field expresses that limitation. And you're then interacting with the field of possibility and probability at that level of perceived limitation. So what are you going to do? You're going to create a feedback loop in which your perceptions become your experienced reality, where little me self-identity becomes a little me life.
Exactly.
Not because it has to be, but because you believe it does.
It's free will. It's free will at that point. Yeah, and no one can. Mm-hmm.
As you expand into greater and greater swathes of consciousness, and you continue that, the more and more you self-identify with being infinite rather than finite, then you are able to manifest so many more things in your life. People suddenly find synchronicity and bits of luck and things happening just when they need to happen.
Oh, yeah.
People you meet just when you need to meet them that weren't happening before, because you are now interacting with possibility and probability in a much greater, more expanded way. So what you can make possible, manifest as possible, is expanded in the same way, and your life changes. And as that happens, of course, your perceptions expand, your perceptions change, your behavior changes, your interaction with others change. The more people that do it, society changes, and suddenly we have heaven on earth, because we have literally taken the consciousness of what people call heaven, expanded reality, and we've grounded it here.
No, totally. I believe we're multidimensional, and this is, and you were just describing perfectly what I would call the fifth dimension, and this bigger, consciousness or great awakening that we're experiencing, right, is this shift from that third dimension, or that physical lower vibrational belief that we're all just, these meat suits walking around. And it's this, scientific world, and when you die, it's just black and emptiness, and that's pretty much it. And then as consciousness is growing and growing, and you go beyond those beliefs and into yourself, and you can awaken beyond them. This fifth dimensional thing that you've just been describing is great. And now I just want to get into a little bit as far as, let's go again behind the scenes and get into just reptilians or Palladians. What's going on behind the scenes? And so bring us some clarity as far as how that funnels into this world.
For me, I mean, it's interesting. You should mention the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
See, I think dimensions are created by not by a dimension in and of itself,
Mm-hmm.
but by the extent to which you can perceive reality.
Yes.
So if you have a expanded state of consciousness, you may be able to perceive, these are just terms, the third and fourth dimension.
I agree. Yes.
So to you, the third and fourth dimension are one dimension. It's just that's the range that you can perceive.
Yes.
What we call the third dimension is basically people that can't see beyond the five senses.
Exactly. I agree completely. And these are exactly just words that we can use to talk about it.
They're very useful. They're very useful terms.
Yes.
To talk to five sense mind, which wants structure.
It wants structure to compute as far as to relate this thing that we call life. Yeah.
But you throw in, actually, it's not quite like that, but it serves as a wonderful analogy.
Yes.
So what we call the fifth dimension, for me, is beyond the simulation.
Yes.
And I think the simulation and the reptilians and all the manipulation of this world, I go into this in this new book in great detail.
I'm excited about it.
Really, really cut new ground, really. I think it's coming from the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
And the fourth dimension, what some people call the astral,
yes.
is the realm of mind.
Yes.
And the simulation is a creation of mind. Our minds are creating the simulation. In the same way, I mean, we're looking at the brain in this case, but it's the same principle. You put on a headset and a virtual reality game, and it feeds the brain
yes
information which the brain decodes into a perceived reality.
Yes.
And this reality can seem very, very real as you see people jumping around.
The nervous system doesn't know any difference. The biology itself. Exactly. That's the thing, right? Yeah.
So if you take the brain in that analogy, and you think of the fourth dimensional mind, that's where the simulation is being fed into us.
Yes, I agree.
And so this world, this simulation, is actually a projection of our own minds.
Yes.
And it's a projection of our own minds, minds that have become bewildered and lost in an illusion that's being fed to it. Whereas other levels of your consciousness, you talk about the fifth dimension, that's beyond all that. It's beyond the simulation. It's beyond mind. We're into another level of consciousness. Mind for me, I've said this in books over the years. Mind may be made of the same, if you like, substance, for want of a term, as expanded consciousness, just a different frequency level of it. But, a heaving ocean and a block of ice are made from the same substance, basically, but they're very different. And it's the same with mind and expanded awareness. And it's this level of mind. And, people think, fourth dimension, that's way out there. No.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah.
It's just beyond that level that our five senses can decode into a visual reality.
Exactly. That's the biggest, and I know I wish there was a better one. I love language, and I'm always open for new things, and dimension is just the closest and best word that I have now to describe it.
As long as the caveat, I think you give the caveat of the kind of things I've just said. It's a very simple way to explain it. It really is, and I've used that in this book, actually.
Good. I think people, can interpret that in different forms, and obviously in the beginning, if you don't have this intellect involved, what's going to happen is you're going to mistaken it for, yes, something that is outside or something that is going beyond, but internally it's really not. It's actually
Yeah.
something that we experience, right? And that's the key word, is experience, that's going to pass on, through us. And that's what I mean. So do you think there is, beings, higher beings, or what is controlling as far as those dimensions, or what those things that separate those layers in between each one, right? So if people are trapped into this 3D layer and all they think is the matrix code, and then we have the 4D, 5D, 6, whatever, we don't need to get into it, but the point is there are, things that are keeping these set right into place
Yeah,
itself.
I mean, it's about frequency. I mean,
Yeah.
the frequency of what we call the third dimension
Yeah.
is a low frequency. The
Yeah.
frequency of mind is a higher frequency, but
Yes.
it's not as high as fifth dimensional consciousness and so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So that fourth dimension, I've been writing since I from the time I introduced the whole reptilian thing.
Yes.
In 1997, I wrote the book The Biggest Secret, and
Mm-hmm.
it came out in '98. I've been describing the fact, funnily enough, the way we're
Yeah.
chatting now,
Mm-hmm.
that these reptilians operate in what I termed at the time, and still do, the lower fourth dimension,
Yes.
which relates to the what other people call the lower astral,
Yes.
and that's where this is coming from.
Yes,
Uh,
I see that too.
and you got these reptilian beings because the frequency from the lower astral to our reality is so small.
Yeah.
They can move in and out of our reality.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I look at the 4D or the astro as just a bridge, right? So it's
Yeah,
this waypoint where convert people that are, whether they're aware of it or not, most people are just doing this through their dream state. If they're not aware of it, it would be a lucid dream or an astral projection at that point. But most people are not aware of these, 4D realities, let's say. And
yeah,
yes, there are these beings, right, that see that as a bridge, as an opportunity to connect with us, quote unquote human on this side, playing in the 3D realm, so they can interact, right? So
yeah.
that's where I see all of that happening within itself, right? And then people make the mistake as it, we don't have to get into duality at all. It doesn't have to be bad or good or this or that, or 4D doesn't mean that it's better than 3D or higher or lower. You see what I mean? It all just is. These are just the rules of consciousness.
Yeah, but I talked there about the lower fourth dimension, the lower astral, whatever.
Yeah.
What they're operating from there, and what are they doing? They're disconnect. That's the point where they're
Yes.
seeking to disconnect our five sense body mind
Yes.
from, for the terms we're talking about now, fifth dimensional consciousness.
Yeah.
They're in that space between the
Mm-hmm.
two.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. David, this has been so fun. I don't want to take too much of your time. This has been
Okay.
wonderful. Where can people find you? I know you've been talking about your next book coming out. I'm excited about that. Let's send some people your way. And how can we find all the good stuff that you're putting out into the world these days?
Well, the main hub is davidicke.com. That's where all the videos are, and the daily updates of news stories put into context of why they're happening, not just what's happening. And there's Iconic behind me, which is my son Jamie. He started it 2 years ago. It's an alternative Netflix in a way, and covers all these alternative subjects, not just conspiracy, but the nature of reality, everything. I've just done a 13-part series called The Nature of Reality, which is on
Yeah.
Iconic now. And I do a news show every week, going through the news of the week and putting it into context. My son Gareth does a very topical news show, talking to people that the mainstream media won't talk to every week,
So
and then we
needed.
have this great swathe of documentaries on multiple subjects. And there's a very good documentary. We've got a great producer called Christiana, and there's a great documentary on Iconic called Divine Intervention. And
Wonderful.
that is about, I contribute quite a lot to that, but so do many other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, the non-human manipulation of human society.
Yes, I'm going to link all of this in the description below so people can find that and get more resources as far as what exactly is going on and get to the, truth of what's going on. Because I think people are not only curious about it, but they're after it more than ever. And
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, we live in a world where, those good old days of the internet and free information are gone, right? So we have to, work harder to even get this out, So I just want to thank you again for taking the time to do that. And that's what I'm going to do, is do my best to get this out as many people as I possibly can, and we can continue to keep shining this watery light into this beautiful world.
Yeah, and then just one final point: that the censorship is not coming from a point of strength; it's coming from a point of weakness.
Yeah,
because they know if they don't censor, they can't win an argument.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. Thank you, David. I appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.